Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Jersey and today we are gonna be doing a waterfall build. This one is gonna be different. This one I just love the design and the concept of it. So we're back on Shelly's Island where we are been building this museum area, and now we are working finally on behind of the museum. Okay, so the idea of this waterfall was we wanted to be a very lookout point, right? From behind the museum, you cross the bridges and you're gonna see this massive waterfall that also is gonna be half of the circle of this lake back here, right? And all this water is coming from the waterfall and is pouring into the lake. So that's the idea, that's the scenario that we have in our minds, right? So now the concept is we need to wrap around this mountain, around this lake, and also it's gonna tear down. So we're gonna start coming up on one side, then it's gonna get to a high point, and then slowly it's gonna come down to the other side. At the same time, we need to make it wide. We need to make water on the very top, so you can feel like there's a lot of water on the very top area. There's also two doggo dens that we need to keep, right? That's something that Shelly wants to keep in her island. So we got one back here and then a big one on the other side. So we can't stretch the mountain as far back as we want to, but that's okay because the idea of this waterfall is to be looked from the front, right? It's gonna be as you're walking from the museum towards the back, you know, you're gonna encounter this massive waterfall falling into this lake that we have back here. So that concept is really good. I really enjoy making this one. It's been a while since we do a build video and I'm so excited to bring this one back. Then after this one, I'll start working editing another build video that I did with rainy days and rainbows, and that's gonna be so awesome. But okay, all right, so let's talk about what we're doing here. Okay, so the best approach that I found to make this is to make it section by section, right? Start elevating it and at the same time have different tiers, right? So as you can see, I'm doing some sections are 1, other sections are 2, and then 1, 1, and then 2 again, and then kind of I'm just spreading it out. At the same time, don't forget, when you're working on perspective builds like this, that they're meant to be looked from far away, remember to always walk back to a farther point or where the point that you're really trying to the focus points to be. So it's very important, and you're gonna see throughout this video that I walk all the way from where I'm working and go all the way back just to make sure that the vision, the perspective, and all the ideas that we have in mind are actually working. Okay, so and then slowly the next thing that I started to do is work with the waterbeds at the same time, right? I don't want to build the whole mountain and then try to put the waterbeds, you know. This is another technique that I'm now improving myself. Before I used to build like all these mountains before and then slowly put the waterbeds. So now I'm approaching a little different. It's something new that I'm doing. Let's work smarter and not harder, right? So I'm slowly working from my way to the front, gonna work my work to the back, and then I'll know exactly how high, how low, how wide, how deep I want the waterfalls to be. Do I want a multi-tier waterfall on this little section or not? And it seems something that worked really well, specific on this design, right? Because this design, as you can see, I'm already making the big pool of water that's supposed to be on top of the mountain, and all this water in the middle section here is tearing down all the way to the side, you know. And it's fun to bring a concept from what you have in your mind, what I put down on my graph paper, and then bring it over here. And this is a design that I've really been wanting to do. You know, it was gonna be something special. I already had it in plan for Shelly's Island, and I was so excited when that we finally got our dates together so we could come back over here and work on this. Okay, so as you can see, I also like to leave some separation in between the different tiers of the waterfall. That's not something that you have to do. You can make this waterfall be fully flooded with water coming down in almost every part of the front. I like a little bit more separation. That's a little bit of my style. You know, I like to have a little bit water in between. I want to have a little bit of dirt space in between each of the waterfall. That's just a visual thing. It's just what I enjoy and what I really like more about when I do waterfalls. But if you want this front to be full of water, all this water cascading in the very front, then go ahead. You know, you can go ahead and do it and add it, and it will look really cool as well. You know, you imagine like waterfall, that big waterfall, right? And it's just full of water, just pouring out and pouring out and pouring out, and you don't see anything. It's just all water. So you could make something like that, right? Okay, so as you can see, we're starting to place where exactly we want the water beds to be, where the water is gonna be falling, and then that gives me the idea. Okay, so now I want this water beds to be in this level, one tier lower, so now I can increase the dirt. At the same time, in my style, of course, I like to hide the water beds. I don't like to see the gray. That's something that's particular to me and my style. So I know you could make better looking waterfalls in many ways if you don't try to hide the gray. You can have a little more depth and stuff like that. In working in my style, that I do like to hide the frame of the water beds, you know, it takes a little longer, in the sense like the depth, the depth is a little bit different compared with if you can see the gray. So that's also a style, so don't forget that. You can make this waterfall and look even cooler if you show the water boxes. But for me, to make it feel a little more realistic, I do like to hide the water boxes. I don't want to see the frame. I just want to see the dirt and the water. That's my style. That's what I like to do. But approach it the way you want to approach it, the way you want to make it, because I seen amazing designs, amazing waterfalls that you can see, the water beds, and that's okay. Remember that. That's always okay. Just as long as you're happy, that's the most important. Okay, so now as we're continuing, we're gonna clear a little more of these trees over here. There's the doggo den right there that we cannot destroy. That has to stay there. And then slowly, I'm noticing that I need to wrap around a little bit more over here, and we need to fix this corner. It's not just there yet. That's something that you're gonna see throughout the video. You know, we started at one point thinking the waterfall is gonna be this big, but eventually I decided that I want waterfall to feel like it's wrapping around more of the lake. So we are gonna stretch, especially this corner where I'm at, we gotta curve it in a little bit more. You know, we're gonna wrap it around more around the water. And once we did that, it started to really feel really good. Okay, so over here, as you can see, I'm cascading the water, right? I'm bringing it down. I wanna make this curve. I want the water then to fall over here. As you can see, a lot of times I do like to have a little bit higher elevation when the water is pouring into the lake, you know, instead of having just one tier and then into the lake. At least too high, it just makes it feel to me like the water is dropping. It looks a little better in my eyes. So that's why I'm doing it that way. But at the same time, now that I got the motion, you know, the motion where how the water is gonna run from the very top, then I can start filling in a lot of this dirt, and to make sure that I have everything the way that I want to. And then we put more water boxes, and there is a water glitch still that they're still working on. And every time you in multiplayer, when you place the water beds, all these flowers just pop random. You know, it's something that's going to be fixed in the future, so don't mind all the lilies and the flowers that just keep appearing just random. It's just a little bug that is in the game. Hopefully on the next update that's going to be worked out even better. But for the moment, in multiplayer, every time we do this, every time you work with waterbed, this happens a lot. So, but don't mind that right now. But okay, so we're gonna come back, we're gonna start seeing, and now the middle section of this waterfall is falling. It's falling correctly. It's looking really good. I'm starting to like what I see, but we still gotta do a couple changes. There's still like a little bit of the water, the way the water is rolling. I wanted to roll a little bit different in the middle, so we're gonna separate it just a little bit. And now we're gonna start working on this side over here. We want to make sure now, how do I want the water to run? Again, it's coming down from the middle. It's gonna come down over here. How deep do I want it? And as you can see, the water is all being separated, right? Every layer is different. You got one layers that are more to the front to the lake. You got other layers that are more deep back, and then you have another layer that's gonna be even deeper back. That also just helps it to give it, instead of everything looking a little flat, just everything in the same level and distance. This gives it a little sense of realism. In my eyes, you know, it creates depth into the build, and it just, when you look at it from far away, it creates a little bit of distance. Even though it's just one square back or maybe 2 squares back, it creates a little extra depth. So when you look at it from perspective, it just starts looking a lot better, you know. But like I said, you know, all of that it's just something that I really like to do. It's my way to approach when I do waterfalls. You know, I do enjoy doing waterfalls in Dinkum are just so fun to build, and there's so many styles, so many ways to create waterfall, to create a mountain. And I always say it, There's not a right way or a wrong way to make a waterfall, as long as you're happy of what you have, what you've created. You know, when you look at it, it brings you joy. That joy that you're like, oh, I can't believe I did this. This is so awesome. That's what I want. That's what I want you to be. And once you get there, you know you got it. You know you got it, and enjoy it, because that's the most important thing that you can do when you're building, when you're doing anything in your art. Not just waterfall, but any type of build. As long as you're happy and you have that joy of what you created, that's where you're at. You're doing the correct thing. Okay, so now slowly, we're adding a little bit of dirt in different sections, right? We want to make sure that there's a little bit elevations in some areas, and the water is coming around these pieces of the mountain, because in the future we're gonna get to the point that we're gonna start adding more rocks. We're gonna start adding the trees, and then slowly we're gonna start adding, the grass, the flowers, just anything else that's gonna make this build feel more realistic. Now, I'm just gonna tell you right now, I have to come back. We're gonna come back. We ran out of time on the session that we had, so we got to a point that the main idea of the waterfall. So if you're watching this video, the main concept is done. The idea, the layout. If you're following this along and you're duplicating this build, at least the waterfall part is done, right? The next thing is just all the little details, waiting for the trees to grow, having everything, just where we're gonna put flowers, what else we're gonna do into the decorating aspect of the build. And then we still need to make the little sitting area where people, when we come down from the bridge, we're gonna sit and they're gonna have this awesome view, of this waterfall. So that's the next time. The next time that we come back, that's the stuff that we're gonna work on. But the good thing is that the waterfall build, the idea, the layout, the concept, it is done. So if you're watching this, you can duplicate it, you can follow it, you can tweak it as you're building it. You can start adding other stuff that you want. You can make it wider, you can make it smaller, you can add more water, you can add less water. You can do whatever you want as you're working on this build. Okay, so as you can see, we're getting the idea of the water. I kind of know what I want. So now we're just filling all the extra dirt. We want to expand this mountain a little more to the back, so it feels a little more realistic, right? It's not just this skinny little mountain going on. So we going around here. Then we're gonna add all this extra water beds right over here. That's why we're leaving the gap just one lower, and the edges is what's gonna hide the water beds, because like I mentioned before, for me, is more realistic if I hide the waterbed and I don't see the frame and just have the water. Okay, so then slowly we're gonna keep going. We're cascading, we're checking everything, and everything's looking good. I'm enjoying this design. Coming up with this idea, I started looking at a lot of pictures online of waterfall that are in front of lakes, and I was like, oh man. Then I found this picture that is like this mountain, exactly what we're doing here, but it's cascading and it's just like wrapping around. It's like this mountain is hugging this lake, and I was like, oh, I like this idea. And then Shelly's Island had the perfect spot just for that, and I was like, you know what, that's what I want. And then that's when I noticed slowly and more slowly, as I'm looking at my reference picture, that this corner, this section over here, it just didn't feel like it was wrapping around the mountain good enough, wrapping around the lake. It just felt like one end was finishing kind of flat. So what we're trying to do is, again, we're gonna go around and we're gonna start adding more of this mountain in this corner and see if we can start shaping this up, start to making it curve just a little bit. And it's so fun, it's fun to work with the dirt printer. It's fun to work with all the dirt leveling and how you can start making all these shapes, because you gotta try to make this start slowly wrap around, but you want it to feel natural. You don't want it to feel square, and that was part of the challenge. Part of the challenge on this particular build for me was how to make it feel like this wrap around feels natural. And then one thing that I noticed is you gotta start kind of tearing the dirt just slowly, as you can see right here. It's kind of you making like this little arrows or little I don't know, it's just kind of pointing on the side as you come down with layers and layers, and once we did that, and once that dirt just started wrapping around in the corner, it really starting to give that flow. It's starting to give that feel, that everything is wrapping around. And also we went a wider because of that reason, and it started feeling really well. Like it really felt like we have now the proper size for this waterfall that's supposed to fit on this lake. And once you get to those points, you know, it's like it clicks, and when it clicks, you're happy. And I'm like, okay, everything is working great, everything is just flowing the way it's supposed to flow. Now we got something, everything is just working properly. So the other thing that I started to feel, okay, so if I'm gonna do this, I feel like I need more water, but also I want to have this wall of dirt. So that's what we're creating right here. So you slowly start creating and playing around with the idea of how the water is supposed to run through this mountain. So if you look at rivers that are leading towards a waterfall, you can see how, you know, the river kind of splits into different areas. You got, sometimes you have elevation and you have this dirt over here and all of that, and the water just going around into the knee to where the water is cascading down the mountain. And that's something that I really wanted to do here, you know, because like I said, this is a waterfall that is meant to be viewed. It's supposed to be something beautiful and wonderful as we're looking at it in our seating area, or all the way from the bridges, all the way from the bank, all the way from the back. That's something that you want to look. So that's something that, you know, I really wanted to do. And it worked out. At the end, it really worked out. It started to flow. You see all the water, all the cascading. And then now we gotta just keep working on the mountain, you know. That's probably the one of the next things that we need to do. And also in the background, you know, I decided that I wanted to create a little elevation in the back, you know. So as you can see right here, we already got the water, we got the dirt. So now I want to create, like, you know, kind of like, just, I don't want it to be flat. That's the main thing. And I wanted to try this idea that it's like you can see the mountain a little bit going a little bit higher in the back, you know. And that's what we're doing. So as you can see, I'm just lifting up, you know, couple levels, and then keep 2 levels the same, come back down, and then kind of zigzagging up and down, you know, up and down, going a little back, just curving it here, trying not to make everything so 90 degrees angles, just curving here, like just not making it too square. I think that's the best word to use. Not making it square, just kind of keep going with the shape that we're doing with the mountain, but just in the back, you know, and trying to give it a little more height. So when we do our trees and all that, we get a little extra high. We want to hide a little bit of the flatness that's on the top, you know. And that's something that I'm trying to discover more and more as we play the game, as we keep doing more builds. Is I noticed that not everything has to be flat, you know. I think that's something you want to have, that depth and those different high levels in different areas. You know, we've been going to different island tours, we've been seeing different ways to make walls and roofing, and just how people are separating builds from another build using the vine fence. And there's so many new approaches that we are doing in Dinkum to improve our builds, so everything starts looking more realistic or more separated, creating this depth in between areas to another area. People are working amazing things with elevation, you know, just how they do one elevation and then another elevation. It's been amazing, and the inspiration has been so overwhelming, you know, that you can see that all that inspiration that I'm getting through all this island tour is already coming through in my new builds, just like this waterfall, you know. It's not just so flat. We're working with multi-level dimensions. We're working with different tiers, you know. If you look at my previous waterfall, they were a little more basic, right? They still look good, but they were more basic. This one is a new approach, a little more complicated, a little more realistic, working with different heights, different elevation, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it because I'm seeing how beautiful it is in so many other areas, and now I want to start improving, start bringing that into our own builds. Okay, so as you can see here, we are still wrapping up a little bit more. I still feel like we still need to go just a little bit more on the curve over here, but I still want to end with the water. I want kind of the corners end with a little trickling of water just falling into the lake. I think that's really great. And like always, like I said, you know, I want to hide the water boxes, so that's why, you know, I cut down the tree. We're gonna just hide the frame again, but it looks so cool how the water is just trickling down. And look at this. Look at this. You know, once you get to those points, those are the points that you get really excited. All the work is paying out. So now the next thing that I like to do is, to me, we're working with that. I don't want the bottom of the waterfalls to look flat, you know. So what I'm trying to do is bring a little bit of dirt, So we are expanding some of the dirt. Some of them are going to be one level under the water, another one's on the top, because we are going to bring rocks. We are going to bring the river grass at the same time, and we want that little separation from the water hitting the ground, hitting the floor, and all that. So okay, so the other thing is a lot of people like the waterfall already to be deep from the very first time the water touches the ground. I like to have one level higher, right? That first level that's under the water, that's where I want the waterfall to meet, and then the water just cascades down. That's my style, because the way the water boxes work, depending where the dirt is, the water will continue to go down. It creates a cool illusion depending on what you want it to do. If you want to feel the water is deeper in many different ways, but for me, I work in that realistic aspect of the game, right? So I really like when the water is just hitting that first level. And then now I love rocks. I love the rocks so much. The rock one is one of my favorite features. It just elevated the game, the design, the concept, what we can do with rocks so much. So, and I love rocks under the waterfall. It's just, they just look good. And every waterfall that we've been on the channel in real life, you see all these massive rocks or little rocks all over the place at the bottom of the waterfall. So that's what we're adding here. So first we're just placing the rocks, you know, making the formation, see how do we like it. Another tip that I will say is that rocks is always trial and error. You know, there's really not a right way to do it. You know, you can have your own style. Just if you don't like it where that, break it, try it again, do it again. You know, and same thing with working with the height. You know, we're gonna start working then with the height of the rocks, because we want to break this one, we want to leave this one tall, and all that is just trial and error. You know, there's not an easy way to explain it. To do it, it's just a feel. That's the best way to describe it. So when you're working with rocks, if you like what you're seeing, that's what you keep, right? That's the most important. If you feel like, I don't know, I feel like it needs more, add more. And if you added them more rocks and you're like, oh no, that's too much, then take it off, you know, and then take less and find a happy medium, you know. And then for me, to me, what's important, if you see in the way that I'm doing the rocks, right, is having a little bit of movement, having them curve just a little bit. You can make a big block of rocks, and if you do that, then you can create some high elevation. So you can break one here, leave this one tall, maybe break the other one on the side. It's gonna be depending on what you really have to approach it. And then what I like to do next is we work with the river grassy to hide some of those corners, maybe pull over here. It just helps the rocks feel a little more natural, a little more great. But as you can see, you know, it's not just all over the place. I kind of work in clusters. I think that's the way I like to approach my rock formation. It's my style. It's what I like, you know. You can put as much rock as you want there. You know, I've been to different islands. We're sitting on the island tours and they just put so many rocks and it looks wonderful, right? The most important is that you're happy on the style, on the design that you're doing, that when you're looking at it, that you're happy. That's the best part. Okay, so as you can see now, now I'm picking and choosing what rocks to break, which one will stay tall, which one will stay high. That's something that I like. I like the different height elevation, you know, and if I don't like something, I'll break it down completely, put the rock again, maybe leave that one tall and work on another one and leave the other one lower. So that's just nitpicking. Trust me, nitpicking. There's no a right way to do it. It's just do it, try it out, and find something that makes you happy. I'm telling you, if you build towards what makes you happy, not me, not the other person, not anybody else, but you, what makes you happy, what brings that smile to your face, that's how you know you got something really good, and you're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna enjoy the build process because you are happy, and that's what I want. That's what I truly want. It's not for you to really complete my style. You know, I want you to get the inspiration, and if you need to copy it, but you have to be happy during that process. Okay, so now it's the river grassy. I love this. I love that we are able to plant it now. It's such a good grass. When it grows, it just covers so much. It brings that extra greenery. Looks really good on the water. I just love it. It's one of my favorite other new features that they added to the game in the last update for us to be able to use this grass. I just love it. I truly do. So and I like to plant it, and then once it grows, it really gives you this. Okay, so then other thing that we're gonna start working on is we are gonna be adding the the pine trees, right? I talked with Shelly. We decided that pine tree is this tree that she wants to do. So right now we're placing them, and we never got to see them fully grown. We'll see when we come back for the next time. We'll come back to her island, and we'll see how it goes. We may need to calm some down. Maybe we need to move them. So, but I do like to always plant maybe a few, just a few in key spots on the bottom of the waterfall, because I kind of want to cover a little bit of the brown. But just a little, you know, but you don't have to. A lot of waterfalls don't have trees in front of them, so this is something unique to my style. It's something that I like personally, but you don't have to. But I do like them on top of the mountain, right? So, and now that we have all this water cascading in all different areas, and then we have all this multi-elevation that I've been learning and taking inspiration from so many of you from your islands and your pictures, you know, now I feel like, you know, I'm becoming, everything is looking better, and I'm just enjoying it. I'm truly enjoying, because all that inspiration that we're grabbing from all the island tours that we're going, I'm finally applying that into my own builds. So, okay, so what we're doing is just spreading the pine trees, right? Putting a pine tree over here, putting over here, making sure the different elevation. And in my mind, I'm kind of trying to imagine them, how they will look full, you know? In which areas do I want clusters, which area I don't want the clusters to happen. So that's what we're doing, you know. And over here, as you can see, you got the different elevations. So some of the pines will be higher over here, taller over here, lower over here. We're gonna have that multi-depth that I think is gonna be really important as we continue to work on this mountain, you know. And at the end, you know, once we see them grown, we'll know, you know. And like I said, I'm just placing them right now. We will see how many of those will stay where they're at, how many do I need to change, how many do I need to take away, and or maybe just shift them. Maybe they were too close, you know, or maybe there's a gap that we need to fill up in the skyline, or maybe more in the bottom. There's gonna be different things, you know. And don't forget, you know, depending, once I get with Shelly, we'll start talking. If she wants flowers, what type of grass, maybe she wants something else, maybe there's something that she doesn't like that we're gonna tweak on the next episode. But yeah, but you know, this is great, you know. And I love that we're making the backdrop. I think it's very important to plant some in the bottom, but then I noticed back here it needed a little bit more, you know. I think the mountain felt a little bit flat, and I was like, you know what, I don't like this. It just kind of ends, you know. So I decided, you know, that I want now the mountain to kind of come down just a little bit, and you know, just tearing down just a little bit, coming down the mountain. And this is two ways to approach it, right? You can do it now the way that I'm doing it. You can keep it the way it was, you know, because sometimes when you're on a mountain, they're cliffs and just ends, right? So not all mountains have to end just coming down, because there's sections of a mountain that is just a cliff down. So, but I decided for this particular build, it felt like it needed a little more. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna put, again, a lot of pines. We're gonna make this feel full. We're gonna make this feel like this mountain, there's a lot of trees on it, especially on the back. As you climb up, then you get the top, you see the cascading, and everything's cascading down into the lake. And that's the approach, right? And again, coming down a mountain is just working down your level down. As you can see, you know, you can make it two lower and then bring it out, and then two lower, or one lower, one lower, one lower. There's not a right way and a wrong way, again, to make a mountain, to make a waterfall. That's the beauty of it, because it's supposed to look natural and not perfect, you know. So you can make it whichever way you want, and that's what I'm having fun now that I'm understanding more and more, you know. And as I speak with more of you about how you guys do your natural islands, your natural concept, I'm realizing that it's a little more chaos instead of organization and being perfect and try to really build something. And of course, we're building something, so we gotta tweak it, we gotta take it out, we still feel like we need something. But it's that multi-level that I keep hearing about from all of you. It's like you just need multi-level, and sometimes that multi-level goes too high. Instead of 1 1 1, it's 1 1 2 1 1 3, you know. And once I really grasped that concept that you guys have been telling me, I'm like, okay. And now I feel like I'm understanding, everything's working better, you know. The mountain designs are looking better, at least for me, of course, you know, and I think we're finally getting something that is gonna start looking good, you know, as I work on more natural designs, as I work more with waterfall, and we go to another island and work on another waterfall, you know, I feel like I'm getting finally to that concept. Okay, so I want to cover just a little bit this doggo den right over here. You know, we don't want to do too much. I don't want to break it or anything like that, but we just put in some pine trees just to kind of hide it a little bit so it can camouflage very well with the mountain, and those pine trees will help camouflage that so it doesn't feel like it's like this corner is just completely off and there's nothing. So that's what we're doing right there. Okay, so now we're working on the corner. This corner won't be as coming down as much. We just did kind of like a little layer, just a little layer, you know, because this is the corner of the mountain. Maybe it is a cliff looking towards the ocean, towards the back, towards the river that we have back there. So maybe that's what we want. And then I want to do the same thing over here, just a little bit. We don't have to cascade it as low as we did on the other side. And that's the beauty, right? And that's what I'm understanding when we are doing and working on natural islands now, you know, it can be perfect. It just cannot be perfect. And you want to have this different layering, and one section's like this, another section like that. And that's why when we visit those islands, that people work with the natural, they work with the environment, they work with the terrain, it looks so beautiful, right? And we are falling in love with those islands. It's because of that reason. Okay, so as we continue to do this, and as we continue to do that, now I'm adding some rocks on the very top, you know, just specific places that I do feel like, oh, we need a rock over here, we need another rock over here, and that's what we're doing. So as we continue to work on this, you know, we're adding the rocks that we want, and then slowly, as we get to almost the end of this particular build, you know, of this particular video, everything is just looking really nice. Everything is just working together. We're putting it all together, and I just love it. I love the concept. I love the design. I love the way everything came out. I love how wide it became. You know, we started a little small, but we went ahead and expanded it, and now it really wraps around. And then we get to this view. Look at this. It's just fantastic. You know, I can't wait to come back to keep working on this, to finish it. But I love this design. I love this waterfall, and I hope that you guys do too. But guys, you made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. And don't forget to hit a like, subscribe if you want to see more videos, and we'll see you next time. Alright guys, see you later. Bye.